Betty. Let's play a quick game and let's discuss. So I reached the 600 rank. The meta has definitely changed, and I need to readjust my deck. But I wanted to talk about the state of the game. I've played a lot of video games, just like everybody else. We can all relate, and everybody hates a complainer, especially about your favorite games. But also, when people love a game, they also hate when it feels unfair, unbalanced, right? So we look for the balance, we look for the fairness. And this game is unbalanced in the sense that it is the game is called Pokemon, right? It's about Pokemon. And I'm gonna go first. I am playing a live game. So in Pokemon, the current block has 2,000 Pokemon that are available to play. And I mean, for anybody who's ever played StarCraft or World of Warcraft or League of Legends or not Call of Duty, but like games where there's a lot of characters, we all know it's extremely difficult to balance a game, right? But there is the balancing, there is the fine tuning, and there's patching, right? So like over time, the game will get patched, it will get fine tuned because why? The game creators, they care. That's really all it is. The game creators, they just care. So what does that have to do with Pokemon? So I've been playing since base set. As I mentioned in the past, I competed very well. The highest I ever got was second place in a tournament, but that is a big deal, even for back then. The game was extremely balanced because there weren't a lot of abilities. You didn't have like stadiums. You had trainers. You could cast them in as you want. There were some imbalances, but everybody had access to those imbalances, right? Meaning all decks. So the game remained Pokemon. You could pick your favorite Pokemon. It could be Farfetch'd or it could be Charizard, and you could build a deck around that Pokemon. Right now, that is not the case. And the explanation, it's explained away with, well, this is a company and they have to make money. Well, yeah, there's lots of TCGs, Magic the Gathering, Hearthstone, there's lots of, or Star Trek, there's lots of TCGs that have to make money, and they adjust. Oh, this guy didn't get any cards. I feel bad. That sucks, dude. They adjust to make money, but they also adjust for the player base. And there's definitely a fine line between collecting and playing, right? Magic the Gathering makes the majority of its money from playing, not the collectors. So their focus is always going to be the playing. Pokemon, they make the vast majority of their money from collectors. People that just want these crazy Pokemon cards, which is fine. There's a lot of things that you can do. What should I do? What should I do? I already have enough energy. He doesn't have anything. I feel bad. The game's already over. I'll just illustrate like how good these, man, I love. Anyways, I'll just kill them really quick. So in Pokemon, the collectors are gonna be the focus because that's where all the money comes from. These are the people buying the booster packs. But if you have such a massive collector base, like arguably the most money, the biggest collector base in the whole world, why not just adjust the game over time so that it's more playable, right? And what do I mean by playable? Right now in the meta, there's maybe 3 to 5 really viable decks. You know, the rotations, they change. There's a lot of decks that there's, you know, from a year or even a year and a half ago that you can still play and it's viable. And when I say viable, I mean, you can get to the 1600, you can get to the 1300, you can get to the 2100 rank if you need to. And I could. I don't want to because it doesn't feel fun. I've tried it. Like, I've copied these Giratina decks. I've copied these Zard decks. I've copied the Comfy deck, which is, there's several of them, but Giratina is the most popular one. And it's time consuming to win. You have absolute control. You can pull anything out of your graveyard. You can pull anything out of the library. You can control your opponent. You can move their Pokemon in and out. You can move your Pokemon in and out. And the support card, the one support card per turn, has zero effect. It's just purely that there's so many abilities. Actually, I don't like taking the card because it's unfair. But he I want to know if he took a card. Oh, he didn't. Okay. I don't want to take a card if he does. So this is the Mew deck. So I'm probably going to get pummeled. This will be a good example. It's a very popular deck. And basically you have absolute control. I don't want to take it. It just doesn't feel right. Unless they purposely built their deck. So this might be a spin on the Mew deck, which is, that happens in the 600s. There's spins. Oh wait, never mind. No, this is the Mew deck. So again, Mew has 0 retreat. You can move energy around. Look at this. So my argument has been, why not start the game with 30 cards in our hand? Why even have all these draws? Like, look at this. If this was Magic the Gathering, I would Wrath of God right now. You just threw out 1,000,000 cards. Your entire discard pile is full. I'm going to Wrath of God your ass. Or I'm going to make you discard all of your cards. Hopefully, I mean, there's punish game. Like if you search your deck, if your opponent searches their deck, discard 13 cards off the top of their library. So I'm going to punish. There's going to be hate for these draw card decks. So a natural progression occurs. Just like in real life. Evolution or natural selection. Or in anything, whether it's economies, whether it's relationships or dating or the school systems. There's a natural progression that always occurs because it's possible to occur. But in this game, it's not. In the current state, it is not. I cannot punish this deck. In its current form, I cannot punish it. Let's say that I move his Mew out of that spot. He could just move it right back in. They have that ability to just move it right back in. So I would have to get a stage 1 Pokemon. I either have to use an item card or a stage 1 Pokemon card to mimic what he can do with just a single ability, right? Or I have to use a stadium like this. I'll use a stadium card, guys. A support card. I only get 1 support card. I'm going to use my support card to switch his Pokemon, and he can just switch it back in. He can switch any Pokemon he wants into that position. Or he just has another one on his bench ready to go, so he doesn't care. So switching doesn't do anything. I just waste. I just want to know what's inside of my prize pool here. What do we want to do, everybody? Let's poison them. Why not? And let's have all the cards go to the Flamingo. And we'll put the punch card on here just to fuck with them a little bit. Actually, I'm going to force the switch. So look, I'm going to use 2 cards to force the switch. Which card do I want in? That red one. Okay, it's not going to work. Right now, I at least have a chance. Okay, so here's the other thing. There's a blue creature card that prevents you from dealing damage to the bench entirely. And people keep one of them in their deck. Why? Because if it gets killed, they just bring it back out of the discard pile. Like, and that's these 3 to 5 decks that are prevalent in the highest. If you ever want to play the high end decks, play the casuals. Don't play ranked. Play casual. And if you play ranked, you're going to run into the Zard decks. You're going to run into the free decks up until 600. Once you hit 600, then you're going to run into the same decks as the casual. But if you want to play like the really high-end decks, the people that are just crushing people, go to the casuals because that's where they go when they're bored, when they're tired, when they're exhausted of playing the exact same decks over and over and over and over again. And you'll run into what I'm running into right now, which is the turns take minutes. And he can search his entire library. Look, he can switch in. He's like, hey, switch in different Pokemons. That's not even the end of it. He could switch in other Pokemons if he wants to. He can switch. He's already switched his Pokemon in. He's switched it twice now. The comfy deck is even worse. You just go switch. So he has this fluidity with his Pokemons coming in and out. Same with mine. I mean, it's less so for me, but he can put, as long as he has at least 1 or 2, which he is, he can pull whatever Pokemon he wants into the active spot and kill it. Look at this. This is second turn, right? Oh yeah, he can take the tools off, right? Every deck has that. He can remove my tools. They can't remove the energy. You don't have this issue with Magic because There's 50,000 cards. Granted, you can't just throw in a vintage card. But they play test and they play test and they play test and they play test. And you can buy the play test cards. It's great. They don't do this in Pokemon. You know what Pokemon is? EX, EX, V, V-Star, V-Star Max. These are the cards that sell. And I'm not saying don't have those. Just don't allow them. Just ban them. Ban them. Like, the Mew is too powerful, guys. Look at this. How is it that for two, he can hit me for 130. His retreat is 0. His retreat is 0, guys. His weakness is dark. He can just swap it in. I missed what he hit me for. But it was over 130, okay? Oh, because he can copy any attack from the bench. So, I mean, he can have the craziest cards on his bench. And for 2, he can copy it. So you can have a card that hits for 5 million, billion, jillion, gillion, dillion, put it on your bench, copy that ability, and for 2, hit for 5 million, jillion, billion, dillion, gillion. Why would that be a card that is viable? Or a card that is allowed, sorry. If there was any actual health for the Pokemon economy, they would remove that. You're not going to see it in casuals. Like I was talking to somebody yesterday and they're like, well, if you ever do a casual, I'm like, whoa, let me stop you there. Casual? Where? Nobody's doing casual. Nobody plays Pokemon. People play it online because there's so many draws. Draw. Nobody can sit there and watch you draw. And by the way, in tournament play, every single time, look at, he hits for 0. He hits for 0, guys. He has 1 energy. 1 energy. He's hitting me for 200 with 1 energy, and my guy hits for 0 on the bench. And if I switch him, people, you can't say switch him. If I switch him, he'll bring in the other Mew. Or if I switch him to that red one, he could just switch back. His Pokemon abilities allow him to just switch. You can have as many cards as... So he has 5 Fusion Strikes. He can just draw 5, play them all, draw 5, play them all. I mean, again, I would be discard 13, discard 13, discard 13. If this was Magic the Gathering, it would be over and people would stop doing that. They would have like 1 or 2 Pokemon out. They'd have to adjust their strategy. In this case, there's no adjusting. It's the decks are set. There's maybe 2 or 3 cards that you can change. And I've had people point out, well, this happens in the Magic the Gathering Pro Circuit. Magic the Gathering Pro Circuit, first of all, it changes almost monthly, if not weekly. And you have hundreds of thousands of players all over the globe coming to tournaments. You don't deal with this with Pokemon. If Pokemon was make a digital tournament, guys. Do a digital tournament. You show up with your iPad, or there's iPads on the table, and everybody play the digital tournament. And watch how quickly these decks disappear. And if people got pissed, if you had hundreds of thousands of people actually playing like the Magic the Gathering base, they would do something about it. I just want to point out that I have not been able to actually deal damage. I haven't even dealt damage. He hasn't pulled the blue card out of his deck yet. That's nice. Actually, sorry, I did deal 10. That's a lie. There is a blue card that prevents me from dealing damage to his bench. Anyways. Okay. Let's get back to it. So this is just one example, but there's like 4 or 5 examples. So what happens when... Actually, I'll do that. In my next video, I will play one of these decks, and you'll see. This is what happens. The game starts, you draw half your deck. Okay? Then the next guy goes, he draws half his deck, he hits you for 300. Your Pokemon dies. Then it's my turn. I draw whatever I want, I switch whatever I want, I hit his Pokemon for 300, I kill it. And we can just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until whoever went second wins the game. That's what happens. It's like, without fail, whoever goes second, the majority of the time, at least with the current rules, is going to win the game. Over and over and over and over again. And I can't go back to the drawing board and be like, oh, you know what? I need to put more counter spells in there. Or I need to put more Wrath of Gods or bounce. I need to bounce these Pokemon back because that Pokemon's way too strong. I can't allow them to have that Mew out. That's how I'm going to counter it. I'm going to bounce the Muse, and they're bouncing too. They're bouncing my Pokemon back to my hand. I'm losing energy. Yes, I can pull it back out of my graveyard, but I'm losing energy. You know what? Actually, the best way to illustrate all of this would be create a vintage version. Pokemon Co. You'll never, ever, ever in a million years watch my video. Ever, 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 ever. But if you do, if somebody in Pokemon Co. is watching this and they're shaking their head, they're like, no, no. There's only 5,000 live players at any given time playing Pokemon. 5,000. Okay? Your game is pathetic. Don't change the channel. Don't pause. Your game will go to 0. There was 20,000 live players every day last year. So I know that you know. I know that you know what's happening. You can't ignore it. We're down to 5,000. Okay? It's going to get lower. It's going to keep going lower because people are bored. Why? Because they want to play their favorite Pokemon. Let's do another switch. Again, I'm going to illustrate this. Here we go. I'm going to switch his Pokemon out because I'm just trying to have a turn. Let me have a turn. Let me do something. I did get a pretty bad hand, but it doesn't matter. I'm down to 32. Okay. And this is turn 4. On turn 4, I've gone through half of my deck. My hand is empty. I have no energy on any of my Pokemon. Look what he did. He immediately switched that Pokemon right back in. I cannot. So I'm just wasting cards. I cannot get his shit out of that position. So, Pokemon Co., which you're not watching, don't ignore my video and say, oh, you just need to play LOL, L2 play noob. You'll go the way of every other game that has ever done and said that. And the companies that listen to their player base, as much as we hate Blizzard, they do listen to their player base and they adjust things and make it fun to play. Okay? People love Hearthstone. Let's look at the numbers of Hearthstone. Okay? Hundreds of thousands of people every single day play Hearthstone. So if you feel good about Pokemon, like, oh, but Pokemon's so fun, it's my favorite. My deck's still viable. I'm in the 1,300 bracket. My deck's still viable. Yeah, you and 5,000 other people daily. And it's dwindling. I'm going to lose this game without dealing any damage. I'm so happy that this deck came out so you guys can see. It's absolutely wild. I'm going to swap his Pokemon again. It's not going to matter. I have an entire... I mean, the only way for me to compete against these decks is to do the same thing. I got to get V, I got to get VMAX, I got to do Fusion Strike, all of the alphabet Pokemon that I call them alphabet Pokemon. That's what I got to do. I just got to play alphabet Pokemon, and then I'll start winning. And then we can say, see, okay, so here's my conclusion. Why is there a problem? We, on average, of all 2,000 Pokemon in the current block, use 50. 50. So you're going to call this Pokemon, but really you should just call it, change the name to VMAX. V/VMAX/Fusion Strike /EX. The new one is lowercase EX. Oh, wow. So creative, guys. Just call it that. Why call it Pokemon? It's not actually Pokemon. Nobody, like Ash Ketchum, he comes out and there's Professor Oaks and he says, hey Ash, would you like a Pikachu, a Charmander, or a Garrottini, or a Mew? These are basic Pokemon. These are basic Pokemon, guys. Look. Basic. That's a basic Pokemon. How is that a basic Pokemon? Show me any basic Pokemon that's on par with that. Garrottini. I hit for 0. Look at, I peck for 0. And this is my bracket, by the way. If anybody's watching, they're like, oh, well, your deck sucks. This deck is in the 600 bracket. It's never going to be a top tier deck. But this is my fun deck. It is fun. The Flamingo deck is extremely fun. And I got to the 600 bracket. So that means I'm using other Pokemon. I'm able to rise to the ranks. And now I can't even deal damage. I can't even deal a single bit of damage. I dealt 10 damage the whole game. Oh yeah, she's so happy. Look how good I did. This is how good I did. I went to Google and I searched top 10 best Pokemon. Top 10, or just look up the top ranks. Best Pokemon decks. It'll pull up the ranks of the top 10, and there's one of 3 you can copy and paste. And then you can feel so good about yourself. Look how good I did. I swapped out every single I went through my entire deck until I had 8 cards left. I did it in 4 turns. I took 10 damage total. I had absolute control of which Pokemon was in my active spot. I had absolute control of which Pokemon's in their spot. I did it with no energy. I cast 2 energy. The entire game, I got 2 energy out. Okay? Absolute 100% control. I even removed a tool just to fuck with him a little bit. I feel so good about myself. How is that Pokemon? How is that good? How is that fun? Nobody likes that shit. I cannot be labeled a complainer because I can build the deck. I can just go build it and play it. It's not like these people are doing something amazing. They're not doing they're not doing calculations in their head and oh, this plus I have a 20% chance. No, they're not. They just build the deck and they have absolute control. And then 2 decks with absolute control run into each other. So I digress to my original argument. Why even call it Pokemon? Why even have the game? Just start the game. Everyone has 30 cards in their hand. Go. It's the exact same game and you'll save me time. Why have a 25-minute timer? Have a 2-minute timer. Everyone starts with 30 cards in the hand. You'll have the exact same outcome. Okay. I'm gonna go. If I'm the first one to go, I'm fucked. I went first. Second player kills my Pokemon. Next kills the Pokemon. Back forth, back forth, back forth. You won the game because you went second. Congratulations, Pokemon Co. All right, like, subscribe, put your comments in. Tell me how much you love or hate my comments. Tell me how good you are. Post your deck list, of course. Let me see. I was arguing with someone online, and I said post your deck list because he claimed that he had his own deck. He posted a deck that was in the last rotation. I'm like, bro, that's literally in the last rotation, card for card. You do not have your own deck. You just copied a deck, and it's not unique. That lands in those 50 Pokemon that I was just talking about. Anyways, like, hate, unlike, subscribe. Let me know what you think.